Every country in the world has debt. The United States is known to have more than $38 trillion in debt today. This is the highest level in its history. The European Union owes almost $14 trillion, and Japan has around $9 trillion in debt. You might be surprised, but even oil-rich countries like Saudi Arabia or top exporters like Germany and China have enormous amounts of debt. But here's the interesting part. If everyone has debt, then who is all this money owed to? This is the view of the financial historian, the place where money, power, and history come together. And nothing is as simple as it looks. Debt isn't just a burden. It's the invisible backbone of the modern world. Every war, every crisis, every economic boom and collapse stands on these unseen agreements. And when you dig deep enough into the chain of debt, you come across a disturbing truth. The world isn't actually indebted to anyone else. It's indebted to itself, but that doesn't mean everyone benefits equally. To understand how the planet ended up with more than $315 trillion of total debt, almost 3 times the size of the global economy, we have to go back to the very beginning. Long before credit cards or online banking, the idea of national debt was born not on Wall Street, but in war. In 1694, England was at war with France, and its gold reserves were running out. The king began reaching out to merchants for help. In exchange for regular interest payments backed by future taxes, they provided money to the crown. To manage this system, the Bank of England was established. It reshaped everything. The state could now use money it didn't yet have, and investors gained a government promise they could trade like money. This was the birth of the modern government bond. France copied it. The Netherlands improved it. The newly founded United States used it to finance both its revolution and its expansion westward. Debt stopped being a sign of weakness and instead became a sign of credibility. Being able to borrow meant having power. Empires once seized land for gold. Now they issue bonds to collect interest. The battlefield moved from armies to balance sheets. Fast forward centuries, and debt has become the world's biggest export. The US owes $38 trillion. Japan owes more than $9 trillion. And global debt increases by about $1 trillion every 100 days. Every country is in debt. Every bank is a creditor. Every citizen, through taxes, savings, and pensions, is both a debtor and a creditor. So who is on the other side of the mountain? Let's look at America. Nearly half of its $38 trillion is held by investors. 2/3 of those investors are American, banks, pension funds, insurance companies, investment funds, and the Federal Reserve. The remaining 1/3, around $9 trillion, belongs to other countries. Japan holds about $1 trillion, China holds around $800 billion. Then come the UK, Luxembourg, and Belgium. So yes, the US owes money to China, but only about 2% of the total debt. Most of America's debt is owed to Americans themselves. The Treasury issues bonds, banks buy them, the central bank buys them back, taxes pay the interest, and that interest flows into retirement accounts. A complete loop. And this loop exists everywhere. Japan lends to the US. The US provides funds to Europe through the IMF. Europe lends to developing nations through the World Bank. Developing nations invest their savings in Western bonds. A global circle of IOUs. And behind governments stands an even bigger force, the markets. Funds, hedge funds, pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, institutions holding not billions but trillions of dollars. They decide who borrows cheaply and who pays a high price. When their confidence drops, currencies collapse, governments fall, and economies are overturned overnight. Democracies choose leaders. Markets choose who survives. And at the center of the whole system stands the priesthood of the modern age, central banks. Central banks don't just manage debt, they create it. When the Fed or the ECB buys bonds, they create new money. One person's liability becomes another person's asset. Every dollar is debt somewhere else. There is no such thing as debt-free money. This system has survived for many years thanks to confidence. As long as investors believe that governments will pay interest, even if they never repay the principal, the machine keeps turning. But when confidence breaks, the illusion collapses. We saw this in Greece in 2010. We saw it repeatedly in Argentina. We saw it in Sri Lanka when fuel ran out and the government collapsed. When the system breaks, the names of the creditors suddenly appear. The IMF, credit rating agencies, anonymous bondholders. The people who hold a nation's future in their hands. But even after disaster, the cycle starts again. Old debts are replaced with new ones. Because in the modern world, government debt is not designed to be repaid. It's designed to be renewed. Governments treat debt like a subscription. The real product is interest. And the global economy depends on that interest. The US will never pay off its $38 trillion. Japan will never bring its 250% of GDP debt down to zero, and that's normal. Government debt is not seen as a burden. It's seen as the safest asset in the world. Banks use it as collateral. Central banks treat it like money. If the US paid off its debt, the world economy would collapse. The dollar supply would shrink and deflation would hit us. So governments continue creating debt, steadily, rhythmically, like a heartbeat. This is why the claim, "we will pay off the national debt," is mostly a fantasy. The real goal isn't to eliminate debt. It's to maintain trust in debt. Because when trust collapses, the system collapses. And the phrase, "we owe it to ourselves," is only half true. Interest doesn't flow equally. It flows upward, from taxpayers and workers to the institutions that hold debt. Debt is not just a transfer between countries, it's a transfer between classes. Creditors are not villains. Debtors are not victims. They are both parts of the same engine. But if the engine one day stops, if new borrowing can't match old promises, then the question, who is the creditor, suddenly becomes personal. Because at the very top, there is no single face to blame. China, Wall Street, the IMF, all of them and all of us. Debt has become money itself. Governments issue it. Banks multiply it. Investors trade it. Citizens trust it. The line between debtor and creditor has disappeared. Debt once meant bondage. Today it means balance. But if that balance breaks, we will remember what debt really is. A promise that cannot be kept forever. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and leave